What if I told you that the biggest difference between rich people and poor people
Has nothing to do with how much money they make? It has nothing to do with their job, their education,
their background, their luck? The biggest difference is invisible. It lives inside their head. It's the way they think about money. And today, we are going to break down the psychology of money, the hidden beliefs, the invisible patterns, and the mental programs running in the background of your brain that are either building your wealth or quietly destroying it. By the end of this video, you will never look at money the same way again. Stay until the end, because the last part might be the most important thing you hear all year. Before we talk about rich and poor, let us talk about something more fundamental.
What is money really? Most people think money is a thing.
A physical object, something you earn, spend, and save. But psychologists who study wealth say something very different.
Money is not a thing. Money is a story.
Every single person on this planet has a story about money. A deep, emotional, often unconscious narrative that was written in childhood.
Long before you ever had a job or paid a bill.
That story was written by what you saw, what you heard, what you experienced.
Did you grow up hearing things like, money doesn't grow on trees?
Rich people are greedy. We can't afford that. Money is the root of all evil. Or did you grow up hearing, money is a tool. Investing is smart.
Wealth is built, not born.
Financial freedom is possible. The words you heard as a child became the beliefs you carry as an adult. And those beliefs, not your income, are what determine your financial future. Psychologists call this your money script. And research by financial psychologist Dr. Brad Klontz found that most people are completely unaware of the money scripts running their lives. The first step to changing your financial reality
is understanding your financial psychology.
So let us go deeper. The first thing that separates rich thinking from poor thinking is this: how they see time.
People who struggle financially tend to think in the present.
What do I need right now?
What can I afford today?
How do I get through this week? This is called present bias, and it
is one of the most well-studied
phenomena in behavioral economics. When we are under financial stress, our brain literally narrows its focus to the immediate problem in front of us.
Researchers at Princeton found that financial scarcity
actually reduces cognitive bandwidth.
In other words, being poor makes it harder to think long-term. Not because poor people are less intelligent,
but because financial stress consumes mental energy
that could otherwise be used for planning and decision-making. This is critical.
And it is something the wealthy rarely understand about the poor. Now here is the other side. People who build wealth, regardless of where they started, tend to think in decades, not days.
They ask questions like, where will this decision put me in 10 years? What is this habit costing me over a lifetime?
What does compound interest look like if I start today versus 5 years from now?
This shift from present thinking to future thinking is one of the most powerful
psychological changes a person can make. And it costs nothing. It requires no money, only a decision to zoom out. The second difference is how they see risk.
Poor thinking says, what if I lose everything?
Rich thinking says, what is the cost of never trying?
Now let me be careful here. I am not saying poor people are cowards and rich people are brave.
That is too simple, and it is not true. What I am saying is that their relationship with risk is different. And that relationship was shaped by their experiences.
If you grew up in financial instability, if money was always scarce,
always uncertain, always one problem away from disaster, your brain learned a very specific lesson.
Money is dangerous.
Risk leads to loss.
Safety is the only option.
And that belief, while completely understandable, keeps people trapped. Because wealth is always built through some form of risk. Starting a business, investing in the market, learning a new skill, taking a chance on yourself.
People who build wealth have also reframed how they think about failure.
They do not see a failed investment as proof that they should never invest.
They see it as data,
as tuition, as information that makes the next decision smarter. Psychologist Dweck calls this a growth mindset. The belief that intelligence, skill,
and financial ability are not fixed. They can be developed through effort and learning. People trapped in poverty, not just of money,
but of thinking, often have what Dweck calls a fixed mindset. The belief that they are just not good with money, that wealth is for other people,
that nothing they do will change their situation. That belief is a cage.
And the key to that cage is understanding that the
belief itself is the problem,
not your circumstances. The third difference is how they see other wealthy people. This one is uncomfortable, but it is important. Research consistently shows that people who struggle financially are more likely to view wealthy people with suspicion, resentment, or moral judgment. Rich people are greedy.
They stepped on others to get there. Money corrupts people. The system is rigged for them.
Now, some of this is true.
The system does have inequalities.
Some wealthy people did gain their wealth unethically.
But here is the psychological problem with this thinking.
When you believe that wealth is corrupt,
When you associate
money with greed and moral failure, your subconscious mind will protect you from it. You will unconsciously self-sabotage financial opportunities.
you will feel guilty when you earn more,
You will find reasons not to invest.
not to charge what you are worth, not to build wealth. Because deep down, your brain has decided wealthy people are bad people, and you are a good person.
So you cannot be wealthy.
This is called wealth psychology conflict, and it is one of the most common hidden reasons people stay stuck financially. The reframe is this money amplifies who you already are.
It does not create greed. It exposes it.
A generous person with money becomes more generous.
A greedy person with money becomes more greedy.
Money is neutral.
What you do with it is the story. The fourth difference is how they handle delayed gratification. You have probably heard of the famous Stanford marshmallow experiment. Children were given a marshmallow and told,
If you wait 15 minutes without eating it, you can have 2 marshmallows.
the children who waited who could delay gratification
Went on to have better outcomes in school.
health and finances decades later. Now, the original interpretation was simple. Willpower determines success. But more recent research has complicated this picture in a fascinating way. Psychologists found that children from unstable, unpredictable environments were less likely to wait for the second marshmallow.
Not because they lacked willpower.
But because their experience had taught them things promised in the future do not always materialize. Take what you can now, because later is not guaranteed. This is a deeply rational response to an unpredictable environment. But here is the problem.
When that environment changes, when stability becomes available,
The old programming stays. Adults who grew up in financial instability often continue to spend immediately, avoid saving, and struggle to invest in their future, even when the environment has changed.
and the future is now predictable.
The psychological work here is recognizing that the old program is running in a new situation.
And consciously overriding it.
Wealthy people, or people who build wealth over time, have typically either grown up with environments that made delayed gratification feel safe, or they have consciously retrained their response to it.
They have learned to find satisfaction in watching savings grow.
In watching investments compound, in the quiet pleasure of financial security building slowly, the marshmallow you wait for always tastes better. The fifth difference is their relationship with financial education. People who struggle financially often believe that learning about money is for other people, for bankers, for accountants.
For the already wealthy,
They feel confused, overwhelmed, or even embarrassed by financial concepts, and so they avoid them.
people who build wealth,
Regardless of where they started, treat financial education as a lifelong responsibility. They read, they ask questions, they learn from mistakes,
they understand compound interest, investment basics,
and the power of spending less than you earn. Warren Buffett, one of the wealthiest humans in history,
reportedly reads 5 to 6 hours every single day.
mostly about business and finance. He once said, "The best investment you can ever make is an investment in yourself."
In your knowledge.
In your understanding,
The gap between the rich and the poor is not just a money gap. It is a knowledge gap.
and knowledge is the one resource that is available to almost everyone. The sixth and final difference is the most important one.
How they talk to themselves about money.
Close your eyes for a moment, or just pause. What does the voice inside your head say when you think about money? I will never have enough. I am terrible with money. I always end up broke.
Money just slips through my fingers. I do not deserve to be wealthy.
That is for other people, not me.
Or does it say something different? I am learning to manage money better. Every small step counts.
I am building something. Financial freedom is possible for me too. The internal narrative, the conversation you have with yourself about your own financial identity, is perhaps the most powerful financial force in your life.
Research in behavioral finance consistently shows that financial self-efficacy,
The belief that you are capable of managing money and building wealth, is one of the strongest predictors of actual financial behavior. In other words,
you have to believe it is possible for you before it can be possible for you.
this is not wishful thinking. This is not a motivational poster.
This is neuroscience. The brain acts on what it believes is true.
When it believes financial success is impossible, it stops looking for opportunities. When it believes financial success is possible, it starts noticing them.
The story you tell yourself about money is not just a thought.
It is a blueprint. So let us bring this all together. The psychology of money comes down to 6
invisible differences between those who
build wealth and those who do not.
1. Time perspective.
Rich thinking zooms out to decades. Poor thinking focuses on today. 2. Relationship with risk. Rich thinking sees risk as necessary for growth.
Poor thinking sees risk as a threat to survival.
3. View of wealthy people.
Rich thinking sees wealth as neutral or positive.
Poor thinking sees wealth as morally corrupt and unconsciously avoids it. 4. Delayed gratification.
Rich thinking finds satisfaction in long-term building.
Poor thinking takes what is available now because the future feels uncertain. 5. Financial education.
Rich thinking treats learning about money as a lifelong responsibility.
Poor thinking avoids it out of fear or shame.
6. Internal narrative. Rich thinking says, "This is possible for me."
Poor thinking says, "This is for other people." Now here's what I want you to take from today. None of these are character flaws. None of these make you a bad person. Most of them are learned responses to real circumstances that were often outside your control.
But they are also changeable.
Every single one of these patterns can be examined, challenged, and rewritten. The moment you become aware of the story
you have been telling yourself about money is the moment you can start writing a new one. The psychology of money is not about how much you earn.
It is about what you believe you deserve. And you deserve more than you have been told.
If this video made you think differently about money,
share it with someone who needs to hear it.
Because financial freedom starts not in the bank account. It starts in the mind. I will see you in the next one.
There is one more thing I want to talk about,
and it is something almost nobody discusses
when they talk about the psychology of money.
The emotional weight of money. Money is not just a financial topic.
For most people, money is deeply emotional.
It is tied to their sense of worth, their sense of safety, their sense of identity. Think about how you feel when your bank account is low. Really sit with that feeling for a moment. Most people feel anxiety, fear, shame, a sense of failure, a feeling that they are not enough.
And think about how you feel when money is flowing, when a payment comes in, when your savings hit a milestone. Relief, confidence, pride, freedom.
Money triggers some of the most powerful emotional responses in the human experience.
And yet, we are taught to treat it as purely logical. A math problem, a spreadsheet, a number. But it is never just a number. It never has been. Psychologist Herb Goldberg wrote in his book, The Money Madness, that money is the last great taboo in our culture. People will talk about their relationships, their health, their fears, before they will talk honestly about their finances. And that silence is costing us.
Because when we cannot talk about money, when it lives in the dark,
wrapped in shame and secrecy, we cannot examine it. We cannot challenge our beliefs about it. We cannot change our relationship with it. The first act of financial healing is bringing money into the light. Talking about it, examining it, understanding where your feelings about it came from. Not with shame, with curiosity.
And finally, I want to leave you with this.
The greatest financial trap in the world is comparison. We live in an age where we see everyone's highlight reel. The new car, the vacation, the house, the lifestyle. And we measure our financial reality against someone else's carefully curated illusion. This triggers something psychologists call keeping up with the Joneses, the compulsive need to match or exceed the visible wealth of people around us. And it is financially devastating. Research consistently shows that conspicuous consumption, spending money to signal status to others, is one of the leading causes of personal financial ruin.
People go into debt not because they need things, but because they need to be seen as successful.
The irony is this:
the truly wealthy, the people who have built lasting, generational wealth, are often the least flashy.
They drive ordinary cars. They live in modest homes. They do not need to signal their worth through possessions, because they know their worth from the inside. This is called stealth wealth.
And it is far more common among the genuinely wealthy than the lifestyle you see on social media.
The person driving the expensive car and wearing the designer clothes is often deeply in debt.
The person driving the old reliable car
and wearing simple clothes is often quietly Building something extraordinary. Stop measuring your financial progress against other people's performances. Your only competition is the version of you from yesterday.
Build quietly.
Grow consistently. And let the results speak for themselves. In your own time, on your own terms.
Because the psychology of money is ultimately the psychology of self-worth. And your worth, your real worth, has never been measured in dollars. It has always been measured in the decisions you make, the habits you build, and the story you choose to believe about yourself.
Change the story. Change everything.
I will see you in the next one.